Have you ever wondered why some investors stay calm even when the market is crashing? It's easy to assume they know something the rest of us don't, but after spending nearly 20 years working in wealth management and interacting with affluent investors, I've discovered something very different. The people who quietly build wealth over decades aren't necessarily the smartest. They simply think differently. When I first started my career, I imagined wealthy investors spent their mornings glued to financial news, constantly buying and selling stocks, trying to predict the next market move. The reality surprised me. Most of them hardly reacted to daily market noise. Instead, they focused on something much more important: their process. One lesson stood out again and again. They understood that volatility isn't a problem, it's part of investing. Markets rise, markets fall. There are recessions, wars, inflation scares, political uncertainty. Every few years, the world finds a new reason to believe that everything is about to collapse. And yet, businesses continue to innovate. People continue to work. Technology continues to improve. And over long periods, markets have rewarded patience far more often than panic. The informed investor accepts this reality. Instead of asking, "What will the market do tomorrow?" they ask, "Will my investment still create value 5 or 10 years from now?" That single question changes everything. Another thing I noticed was how they looked at ownership. Most people become nervous when a stock price falls. Experienced investors don't immediately assume something is wrong. They ask whether the business itself has changed. Imagine owning a successful restaurant. Would you sell it simply because someone offered you a lower price today than yesterday? Probably not. Because you understand the value of the business. The stock market should be viewed the same way. Price changes every second. Value changes much more slowly. I also learned something interesting about cash. Many people think holding cash means you're not investing. The investors I admired thought differently. Cash wasn't sitting idle. It was giving them freedom. When markets became fearful, they weren't forced to sell. They had options. They could invest when opportunities appeared. Cash didn't make them richer overnight. It made them calmer. And confidence is often more valuable than chasing the highest possible return. One habit separated informed investors from almost everyone else. They filtered information. Instead of spending hours watching market predictions, they spent time reading books, studying great businesses, learning from history. They understood that nobody can consistently predict the future, but everyone can prepare for it. One conversation has stayed with me throughout my career. During a difficult market correction, I asked one of my clients if he was worried. He smiled. Then he asked me a simple question. "Has my financial plan changed?" I said, "No." He smiled again. "Then why should my emotions change?" That answer has never left me, because investing isn't really about eliminating uncertainty. It's about building enough confidence in your plan that uncertainty no longer controls your decisions. And finally, let's talk about compounding. It's probably the most powerful force in investing, yet it's also the quietest. It doesn't create headlines. It doesn't go viral on social media. It simply works, year after year. One disciplined decision after another, slowly, silently, almost unnoticed, until one day you look back and realize just how far you've come. Perhaps that's the biggest lesson I've learned. Real wealth rarely comes from excitement. It comes from consistency. The best investors don't win because they predict every market move. They win because they stay invested long enough for time to work in their favor. So if there's one idea I hope you remember from this video, it's this. You don't need to know everything to become a successful investor. You simply need to understand what truly matters. Build a plan, stay informed, ignore the noise, trust the process, and let time do what it has always done for patient investors. Thank you for watching. If this video gave you a new perspective on investing, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed to the channel and shared it with someone who needs to hear this message. Because sometimes the greatest investment lesson isn't about making more money, it's about finding the confidence to stop worrying while your wealth quietly grows.